The fluorescent lights of Courtroom 3B cast harsh shadows across the wooden benches as Marcus Williams sat quietly in the gallery, his FBI badge hidden beneath his dark suit jacket. He had taken the day off to support his father, who was appearing as a witness in a civil case involving his small auto repair shop. Samuel Williams, 58, had worked his entire life to build something meaningful in their community. His calloused hands told the story of decades spent under car hoods, and his weathered face reflected both the struggles and small victories of a black business owner in a changing neighborhood. The case seemed routine, a dispute over repair costs that had escalated to small claims court. Samuel sat in the witness box, answering questions with the same careful dignity he brought to everything in life. His voice was steady as he explained the work he had done, the parts he had ordered, the time he had invested, but Officer Bradley Tucker had a different perspective on things. Tucker, a 15-year veteran of the local police force, had been called to testify about the incident report he had filed when the plaintiff first complained about Samuel's shop. What should have been a simple recounting of facts quickly turned into something else entirely. "Your Honor," Tucker said, his voice carrying an edge that made Marcus straighten in his seat, "I've had multiple complaints about this establishment. It's become a real problem in the neighborhood." The judge, an elderly white man who seemed more interested in his paperwork than the proceedings, barely looked up. "Just stick to the facts, officer." But Tucker wasn't done. As Samuel attempted to respond to the accusations, the officer's demeanor shifted. His hand moved unconsciously toward his service weapon, a gesture Marcus recognized from his FBI training as an intimidation tactic. "That's not accurate," Samuel began, but Tucker cut him off. "I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected by someone who—" "Officer Tucker," the judge finally intervened, though his tone suggested mild annoyance rather than concern. What happened next would be burned into Marcus's memory forever. As his father stood to better address the court, Officer Tucker rose from his chair, his hand now clearly resting on his holstered weapon. "Sir, you need to sit down right now," Tucker commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to absolute compliance. The courtroom fell silent. Samuel, confused by the sudden escalation, looked toward the judge for guidance. "Your Honor, I was just trying to," I said, "sit down." Tucker's voice boomed through the courtroom as he partially drew his weapon, not quite pointing it but making his intent unmistakably clear, when Marcus Williams, Special Agent Marcus Williams, stood up. "Officer Tucker." His voice cut through the tension like a blade. "I'm going to need you to holster your weapon immediately." Tucker spun around, his face flushed with anger and surprise. "This is none of your business, sir. Sit down or you'll be next." Marcus slowly pulled back his jacket, revealing not just his FBI badge but the service weapon he was trained and authorized to use. "Special Agent Marcus Williams, Federal Bureau of Investigation." "And that man you just threatened?" "He's my father." The color drained from Tucker's face as the full weight of the situation hit him. Around the courtroom, phones appeared as spectators began recording. The judge, now fully alert, was calling for order. "Agent Williams," Tucker stammered, "I was just maintaining order in the— You drew your weapon on an unarmed man in a civil proceeding," Marcus interrupted, his training keeping his voice level despite the fury burning in his chest. "In front of federal witness. Would you like to explain to me how that constitutes maintaining order?" Samuel Williams watched his son with a mixture of pride and heartbreak. Pride at the man Marcus had become, heartbreak that this moment was necessary at all. The judge, now acutely aware that his courtroom had become the center of what would undoubtedly become a federal incident, began calling for recess. But Marcus wasn't done. "Officer Tucker, I'm going to need your badge number and the name of your supervising officer. This incident will be reported to the FBI Civil Rights Division, Internal Affairs, and the District Attorney's Office." Tucker's hand shook as he finally holstered his weapon completely. "Agent Williams, surely we can work this out, the same way you were going to work out threatening my father with deadly force over a civil dispute about auto repairs?" Marcus's professional composure cracked slightly, revealing the sun beneath the badge. The same way you thought you could intimidate a 58-year-old business owner who's never been arrested, never been in trouble, whose only crime was standing up in a courtroom when asked a question. By now, courthouse security had arrived, along with Tucker's supervising sergeant. The body camera footage, the cell phone videos, and the official court record would tell a story that could no longer be buried or explained away. As father and son left the courthouse together that day, Samuel put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I'm proud of you, son. But I'm sorry you had to see that." Marcus looked at his father, this man who had taught him about dignity, about standing up for what's right, about the importance of service to community. "Dad, I'm sorry it took me being here for you to be treated like a human being in a court of law." The case was settled out of court, but Officer Bradley Tucker's career in law enforcement was over. The incident sparked departmental reforms and renewed conversations about bias in the justice system. And Marcus Williams? He requested a transfer to the Civil Rights Division, where he could ensure that no other father would face a drawn weapon simply for having the audacity to stand up and speak his truth. Sometimes justice comes from unexpected places. Sometimes it comes from a son who refuses to let his father face injustice alone. And sometimes, just sometimes, the system works the way it's supposed to, not because it's perfect, but because there are people willing to stand up and demand better. The story spread far beyond that courtroom, becoming a reminder that dignity isn't given. It's demanded, defended, and sometimes, when necessary, enforced by those who have sworn to protect it.